God's not walking around on eggshells.
Right.
He's not a God that has to be politically correct. He's a God who loves us more than we love ourselves. He's a God that is in love with us, and he wants his divine life to be at work in our lives. That's God's grace. The divine life of God is his grace. That's what we call it, right? So grace, God desires for his grace to enter into us. But again, sin blocks it. Sin is basically, no, I don't need God. That's it in a nutshell. It's a no to God. I will not serve, right? Lucifer, Satan's cry is, I will not serve. I will not be a part of this. And, you know, all of these apparitions kind of call us to that same basic attack against the disease of sin.
I find it incredible that the year before, 1916, when the angel of Portugal, the angel of peace, comes to the three children and tells them that the need to pray is great, especially because of the ingratitude of man.
Yes.
That's emphasized.
Yeah.
That in 1916, there's this emphasis from heaven of the ingratitude of man. And yet we've got this widening gap, this deepening crevice in our world today of people who just forgetting or rejecting the fact that we need to have any gratitude towards God.
Yeah. And I think, again, that is, like St. Ignatius Loyola speaks about, ingratitude is the greatest sin. Why? Because ingratitude is what? It's not recognizing that everything's a gift. Like I said, whose planet is this? It's not mine, it's not yours, it's God's. And whose ground are we walking on? God's. We're all on a trajectory. In a spiritual life, it's not like there's no coasting. So you're either going toward God or away from God. Ignatius' rules of discernment speak of that. A soul's either moving toward God or away from God. And so if we're moving toward God, we're entering into the spiritual battle. And that's what Our Lady wants. And I think this is in Fatima. It's such an important part of it is, why does she show the children hell, for example? Because she wants them to know there's a spiritual battle. Souls are falling into hell, like as it says, like snowflakes. That's not a fun thought.
In Fatima, Mary warned us of a Second World War, and it happened.
Yeah.
How do you process that? What do you think about that when you think about 20 years after Fatima, roughly, World War II began, the death toll, unbelievable, over roughly 70 million. And these are people, like you say, they're not just numbers, they're not just a tragedy of statistic. It's a tragedy of individual lives that were devastated, and potentially many souls that could have been lost, to hell. But she warned us, and it happened. And we today seem to have either ignored or forgotten, or think that it's just a historical event. How do we look at that?
This goes back to, again, this spiritual amnesia, sort of. It's like, sadly, history tends to repeat itself because we're not obeying the message.